As that comes back, there it is. So we are here for the data governance meetup. It's a little bit different than the other sessions. We're going to go through a little bit of a presentation, and we'll get into some group stuff. But Graham here is going to cover that. So just to introduce myself, so you have an idea who I am. My name is Kevin Taylor. I'm a sales consultant with Tableau, as the slide suggests here. I'm based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been in the role for a little over 2.5 years now, but my Tableau journey itself started long before that. Like most of you all here today, I was a customer of Tableau's for 5 years at companies like Cisco and NetApp back home. So I did a lot with the governance side. Now, my career in analytics, business intelligence, and data started like 20 years ago. So back in 1999, graduated, and it's all I've done. I did it on some of the traditional platforms. I'm not going to name them since it's not their conference. It's a Tableau conference, but I've been on that side, kind of that traditional reporting side where there was kind of one person, two people doing all the reporting for everybody. Then I moved into Shadow BI, which is kind of, here we're going to show some governance models here, and it kind of follows my career from the restricted to the delegated to the self-service, and then I was on the business side and I felt handcuffed. So I'll try to share some of those stories as we go through today, but that's kind of my background. To talk to you about something not Tableau. My family is my life, so I don't get to do much other than BI and family. So I've got twin 4-year-olds, if anybody can resonate with that. So I've got my beautiful wife, Catherine. I've got Casey and Kennedy, my twin daughters, and then I've got 2 Aussie pups. They're females too, so starting a little bit about my home. It's a big ratio difference, but that's it. So I'm gonna let Graham talk and get us started, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit about governance. We'll share some resources and things like that.
Thanks, Kevin. Hey everybody, my name is Graham Britz, and I'm a product manager at Tableau. Been with Tableau for about 3 years now, and have helped work on a variety of features at Tableau, ranging from things in improving desktop and its ability to integrate with server, and improving content management in server, table and data source recommendations. And for the last year and a half or so, I've been focused a lot on how we can bring better data governance functionality and metadata management functionality into Tableau. Spent a lot of time talking with a lot of our customers and hearing a lot of pain points and challenges and successes and different ways that we can make Tableau better at data governance. And I'm really excited to be here today to be able to talk about these topics with you as well, hear how you guys are solving your data governance challenges when it comes to Tableau and BI in general, and figure out what ways we can bring back new ways to improve our experience with Tableau related to data governance too. I'm from Seattle. I'm based out of the Seattle headquarters at Tableau, but I grew up on an island nearby called Vashon Island, which surprisingly even a lot of people that live in Seattle don't know about, even though it's just a couple miles offshore. But it's a small town feel next to a city, and love spending a lot of time out in the mountains there and getting outdoors as much as I can, whether it's biking or hiking. So let's get started with this meetup. We'll spend some time going through these following objectives. So we want to give you a quick overview of some governance concepts as it relates to Tableau. Kevin's going to be walking you through his journey, as he said, from kind of controlled to more self-service governance, and sharing some topics related to different best practices that you can do, and other resources for how to do data governance with Tableau. But most of this meetup we want to spend sharing ideas with each other and building a community amongst ourselves so that we can all benefit from the shared knowledge we have with data governance, and then taking ideas that you guys have and bringing it back to us so we can take that back to our teams back in Seattle and Palo Alto and the other development offices we have, so we can figure out how we can continue improving our products to be even better for you. So to get us started, we want to ask you guys about what are some topics that come to your mind when you think of data governance.
So it's interactive. Go ahead.
It's an interactive
you can shout them out.
here.
Security and data quality. Anybody else?
Consistency.
Heard process. Process and standards, yep.
Trust the data.
Love that one. Stewardship. Love that.
Life cycles.
Lineage, yep. Metadata.
GDPR. PII probably as well.
Visibility. I love that one.
These are all topics that I hear all the time as well when it comes to data governance, and I'm sure Kevin's going to share a little bit about them as well. And when we break up into small groups later, we can brainstorm some ways that we've solved these in the past.
Now, those words are different when you hear them at a Tableau conference than when you hear them out in what I'll call the real world. Outside of the Tableau world, when I hear governance, when I bring that question up, I hear restriction, I hear control, I hear security, I hear lockdown. Sadly, I don't hear empowerment, I don't hear enablement, I don't hear visibility, I don't hear the things that are actually the things we can use governance for to enable the business. It's not just about restriction. So that's a lot of my talk track when I talk about data governance. Yes, it's about control. Yes, it's about security. Yes, we have rules and regulations and audits and things like that. But it's also about enabling the business. So I'm gonna share a quote from my man over here, Mark Wu, in a minute. But before we do that, I'm going to jump into the governance models I talked about. This is like my career path. This is like, if you read my resume, it reads like this. We start out in this centralized world. And this is not to say that this should never exist, but I'm looking at it right now as if, all right, everything's centralized. So you have this one poor little fella down here in the bottom left trying to take all the questions from the business and build out all the reports. And that causes what we like to refer to as a bottleneck, right? There's thousands and thousands of people in the organization. One person certainly is not going to be enough. Lots of restriction there. Then we started to create shadow IT groups or BI groups within organizations. And there was more of these people with talent, more of these people that could maybe do SQL querying or write these reports and generate these reports, right? This is where a lot of the traditional BI tools can only be handled by the very technical folks, so they do all the questions and answers. And then there's self-governing, and this is where you start to enable the business to ask and answer their own questions. And we don't really feel like it. I haven't seen an organization that fits neatly into one of these buckets. It's usually all across these three buckets. Yes, the new data native companies that we see, the Netflix and the types out there, they're closer to that, where everything is driven off of data, right? And to have all of your decisions driven off of data, you have to enable all of your people to be able to answer their own questions. So those are the governance models. And the reason I talk about why do we want to get from that left to the right, it's this last piece right here. It's this modern analytics workflow. I'm gonna walk through this workflow in a minute, try to bring it to life. But this is what Tableau Server to me, this is the big difference maker. Yes, we have the VizQL on the desktop side. That's our proprietary language that does all that neat stuff. You drag and drop, things start to pop up. But as the server goes, between the data server and this piece, I think this is the value. So I'm going to try to bring this to life by playing the role of let's say I'm a sales guy. I'm a sales consultant. I don't do pricing and PO, so I'm not a sales guy. I got sales in my title, but I'm a technical guy. But here, what I'm talking about is, let's say I'm a sales rep, I get my email subscription on Monday morning, and it shows me what do I need to sell in the next month to hit my quota. I drill down into it, interacting, right? I drill down in, I can see by product. What do I need to sell in each product line to hit that quota? But whoever created my dashboard or created this subscription didn't think about the fact I might want to look at territory, right? They didn't have their crystal ball out. So they didn't think about that. They didn't answer that question. So I want to open this up in WebAuthor, and I want to drill down in and maybe create a map. I create that map, and I start to see I've got some insight in this. I can look at my territory and see this is where I need to hit first. This is where I need to hit second. I think it's pretty sweet, so I bring it to my team meeting. Team thinks it's awesome. My manager thinks it's the absolute bee's knees. I'm sorry, I have to share that first. Wow, I messed that up. So I share it first. I want to share that. Where do I share it? I share it in that sandbox, right? We have sandbox projects, and you can create certified projects. So put it in the sandbox, bring it to the team, vet it. We decided something we want. So we push that up to the BI team, and we say, can we get this put into this subscription for the next release? So they look at it, IT checks it out, looks at the joins, looks at the calculations, makes sure everything's legit. It goes with the single source of truth. All right, that's good. Maybe you have a business team there too to look at the best practices. Maybe you've got a leader that's colorblind and red and green won't work. So let's get our corporate colors on there. Let's get the standards on there. Once that's done, we promote it up. and that's the complete life cycle of modern analytics. The thing that baffles me is when I started out in BI, this could take days, weeks, months to do. 20 years later, companies are still doing that. It still takes days, weeks, or months. All of this could easily be done within a day. The promotion and the governance process is about the only thing that could slow this down. You do want to have a nice rich, so you don't want to necessarily barrel it through in a day, but you could. But it shouldn't take months, weeks, right? We want to answer questions at the speed of thought. So I wanted to bring that up. Now, this is the framework from within Tableau. We're focused on the green side today. These are all the different things that our framework does to bring the processes, the people, the technology together. So as we get into groups, you're more than welcome to talk about the content side. I don't want to restrict what your conversations sound like and what you want to talk about, because that is governance as well. But since it is a data governance, let's look at the data source management. We talked about data quality. That was one of the questions that come up. What are we doing there? And as we get into those groups, what we're going to try to do is get what are the 3 or 4 biggest challenges you face, and then what are those solutions that you've been able to come up with maybe that you didn't feel you should have to. Maybe Tableau should be coming up with these solutions for you. So we're going to try to bring any information we can get back. So we'll do that in the group activity. I can put this slide back up too. But before we get into that, since some folks could come and go as we go, we're not going to lock the doors here or anything like that. I want to bring your attention to one of the best resources I think that's out there in the Tableau community. I happen to search this site on a regular basis. The picture there is Mark Wu. He happens to be sitting over here in the data hat. Mark and I worked together at NetApp. We spoke together at conference at TC15, Las Vegas, I think. We met the morning of our presentation, which was kind of cool. He was out in Sunnyvale, and I was in North Carolina. But I remember in that, I still quote this to the day, in that session, he looked out at everybody, and he said about the amount of trust that IT needs to give the business. He said, IT leaders, if you're not uncomfortable, and I might butcher this, don't kill me here. IT leaders, if you're not uncomfortable with the amount of trust you're giving the business, you're not giving them enough trust, right? A lot of that piece there, not only, when we look at the Tableau framework, it's not just about being able to deliver reports, but what about adding users, right? And adding permissions for a user. Do you really want that to go to one person IT that doesn't even know who that person is or what they're supposed to see, just so he can check the box, because that's the way we always did it, right? It doesn't work. So go check out Mark's blog here, or his website. It's enterprisetableau.com, which is also the home for the Silicon Valley Tableau user group, I believe. He's got an incredible blog series, 10-part series on scaling Tableau, 10-part series on governed self-service analytics, things like what are your best practices for managing your license keys, right? It is down to the dirty nitty-gritty. I love it. And then feature adoptions. As we release new things, Mark's blogs about them. A couple other resources for you. This is self-promotion here. I did a webinar earlier this year, I think it was back in April, Unleashing the Power of Tableau Data Server, fully focused on the data server and intended to dispel the myth that Tableau creates the Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West exists in cubes with Excel. Tableau is not the cause of it, and it can actually be the cure. So we talk about that a lot, myself and Colby Pash. And then we did a webinar series, 5-part series. It's out on our website, Embracing the Modern BI Evolution. The slides that I did here today were from the Implementing a Governance Framework, so that was my piece of it. But all of these are really awesome, so go check those out. I wanted to make sure to give you the resources before we get into this group activity. So what we want to do now is do some peer-to-peer communication here, have some conversation. You can feel free to move these chairs. We got the room changed at the last second. We were supposed to have tables. So feel free to move these chairs. We can fix them afterwards. But break out into groups, whatever feels comfortable. There's no size restrictions here. But let's talk about those biggest challenges. Let's talk about those solutions. Record 1 to 3 of them, and then what we're going to try to do, we'll do this for about 15 minutes. And then we're going to try to have somebody, if you're willing, again, this is volunteer, no voluntel. If you'll come up here and just kind of highlight 1 or 2 things that you found interesting in there. I think that way we all get a lot of communication. We'll get some ideas to bring back. You'll get some ideas to bring home. So unless anybody has any questions, if you do have questions, we can do those now. Otherwise, Or if there's any topics you want to hear talked about, we can do that towards the end. Just let us know. Sound good? Maybe? All right. All right, let's break out into groups. Come up with those solutions and trends, and we'll take that back. I'm going to put that framework slide back up just as a kind of, maybe a starting point.